What's up YouTube, it's Heretic here, and welcome back to another deck that we're looking at here, and this is Waterbox. So basically the idea, I'm just going to go over it real quick here, kind of similar to Jacob's Darkrai deck from Regionals only in Standard, for Max Elixir, so we're just going to use these to throw our 11 water energies onto our slew of different water Pokemon we got here. We also have Energy Switch since water doesn't have Dark Patch. So, I'll definitely try to take advantage of that. So we got Seismitoad EX, Quaking Punch obviously, and also Grenade Hammer we have access to, which is pretty big. The recoil damage to your bench can easily be taken care of with Rough Seas, which lets us heal 30 from each of our water Pokemon every turn. We also have Glaceon EX to counter evolved, or evolution Pokemon I should say, I'm sorry, not evolved, it does work on a Maxied Gallade. With Crystal Ray and also Second Bite, you know, basically like kind of Wobbuffet's attack or whatever, being able to double the damage and then it just adds 20 more. Articuno for the Night March matchup, because it along with Seismitoad gives us pretty good odds there. Tri-Edge just being able to take 2 prizes off of Night March are just straight up awesome. We got Manaphy for free retreat. If we get both of these guys out, so we run 2 of them, if we get them both out against Trevenant and get them both charged up, we can actually just mineral pump back and forth forever. Kind of like you pooping back and forth forever. Cards Against Humanity joke, I'm sorry. Not really. So we got that, but mainly for free retreat. 1 Regice. I chose 1 Regice and 2 Glaceon instead of the other way around, because in Standard, there's a lot of non-EX decks. Glaceon especially, you know, combine it with Hex Maniac and VS Seeker against Frogs is really good, for example. Resistance Blizzard's still really good against, like, Mega Rayquaza and against, you know, really any just EX-centric deck. It's also pretty much your win condition, that along with Glaceon, but mainly Regice against Sceptile decks. Suicune is basically a Trevenant counter in and of itself. While it's active, Silent Fear does nothing to you, because it's, as opposed to doing damage, it lays damage counters, which is an effect, and Wind Charm, while Suicune's active, prevents all effective attacks other than damage done to any of your Pokemon. Really awesome. And then 2 Shamans for draw power. So items, we got 4 Max Elixir and 3 Energy Switch. Then we got 4 Trainer's Mill. We got 4 VS Seeker, an Escape Rope, just for an additional switching option. Super Rod, and we got a 2-2 Dive Ball, Ultra Ball split. The only reason I run Ultra Ball at all is because of Shaman. Of course, you can search whatever you want with it other than Shaman too. And then there's supporters, we got AZ, Hex Maniac, 2 Lysander, 2 and 4 Sycamore, pretty standard stuff. 3 Rough Seas to help us out in the stadium more. 2 Fighting Fury Belts, just a little extra damage, extra HP mainly, especially for like Seismitoad against Night March is really good. And then plus you combine it with the healing capabilities of Rough Seas, and it just makes everything really tanky. And then 11 water energies. So that's the deck. We're going to go ahead and take it into battle now and see how it does. Alright, so let's go ahead and take our aquatic box of stuff into battle, I guess. And okay, so our opponent's gonna win the coin flip and have us go first, but we're gonna draw a mulligan, so that's not gonna help. It looks like Fairy something was what we were looking at our opponent's playing, so let's just go ahead and bring everything back into the deck. And okay, we didn't mulligan this time, so we get to start with Manaphy, I guess. But since we're going first, it's not too big of an issue, I guess. We can try to bring some stuff down. And he started with Shaman. Alright. I can get behind that. Let's see if we can get another attacker out here. I don't want Max Elixir if I don't have an attacker. I don't want any of that. Oh, yuck. I guess that's going to go there, and we'll go ahead and get an energy on the board. And then we'll go ahead and play Sycamore. And still hit nothing. Just absolutely nothing. So we're going to go ahead and let a couple of these cards go here, I think. And we could Shaman to draw for 2, but I think in this case I'd like to get some kind of an attacker set up. Now, Fairy decks are mostly EX reliant, but I think I am just going to kind of stick with the way this was meant to run. And go ahead and grab the Seismitoad, play the Max Elixir. Okay, so we are going to get one. Now, we are in top decking mode, full on. But that said, our situation could be a lot worse. We do have another energy for Quaking Punch next turn. We also have an Energy Switch, so we could actually get ourselves all the way up to Grenade Hammer if we need to. We're going to see a Max Elixir on his side now to energize the Xerneas. Then we see a Fairy Garden and energy on the Shaman and another Max Elixir, but he fails this one. So we'll see if he... okay, so he's going to go ahead, retreat, and do a Geomancy. So we're going to have another energy on Shaman, but that's all it's going to do for now. And he does not have a Spritzy, nor did he play a Draw Supporter, so it looks like we're kind of both in the slow form here. So we're just going to go ahead and attach this energy, and I'm just going to go ahead and deliver a Quaking Punch for a 30. So not much damage, but we're going to lock him out of items for now, and that's going to be key come max potion time, is that we're going to want a Quaking Punch until we can hit a Grenade Hammer or something else that'll be big enough for a knockout here. And we still don't know if we're facing just like a Fairy Sylveon Florges box, or if we're actually going up against a Mega Gardevoir here. And if it is the latter, then Regice and Glaceon are going to be our friends. So we draw another Manaphy, and I'm not really too sold on that being in play right now. We're going to go ahead and put that energy down. And I don't really know which way to go here. I guess he went and grabbed the Sycamore, so we might as well try and claim a knockout here. And we're going to leave 3 energies on his board, but they're all on a Shaman. So it's going to take him a couple turns to really do anything with them. We draw Rough Seas, which is always good to have, especially when we're using Grenade Hammer. Maybe if we're lucky enough we can draw out of this here in a turn or two. If not, we haven't really been given a point of urgency quite yet. Maybe should have held that second Ultra Ball, I'm not sure yet. Time will tell. So we see VS Seeker for Skyla rather than him playing Sycamore. So an Ultra Ball comes down, so he is definitely going to try and go for another Pokemon on the bench and not lose all those energies. So we see Max Potion and Fairy Garden get discarded, and so it is Gardevoir. So we do need to do something about those energies. We see a Fairy Energy go on to Gardevoir, and we're probably going to see a Life Leap here for 20, assuming he does indeed retreat, which I think it would be a little foolish if he didn't. And so instead he opts to Sky Return. Okay, so he's going to return all those energies to his hand. And now we're not going to be able to knock him out, but that can be okay with that, because given the situation here, we can do a Quaking Punch, and we actually have enough that we can put another energy right here for now. And we can just deal 30 damage, prevent the attachment of a Spirit Link, which means if he wants to Mega Evolve, he's going to have to go the distance. And with all those energy in hand, Shaman's draw power will be limited here. And if he wants to play the Sycamore, he's going to lose a couple of energy now. So we'll see what he does. And he does decide to just go right ahead and play the Sycamore. Throws away another Shaman, and a bunch of energy, it looks like. 3 Fairy energies gone. 2 from the Sycamore, and then the one that was on the Xerneas. So we're going to kind of play the healing game back and forth here, I think, for a few turns. We do get the Fighting Fury Belt, so we can take the damage off that he dealt to us, and then lay down another Quaking Punch. He'll do an additional 10 here, but he's still going to be able to heal some of that damage if he doesn't opt to go into either a Mega Evolution or Shining Wind here. And right now I'm actually thinking Shining Wind is his best option. He lays down Fairy Garden, so we lose our stadium, and energy goes onto the bench, and he's going to retreat, and so he's going to conserve that other Gardevoir that has the 2 energy on it. So we're going to draw into Regice, which is a good thing to see, and then we're just going to go ahead and Quaking Punch here. Absolutely no reason to be launching Grenade Hammer when we're not getting a knockout. Now next turn might be a different story. Of course, if he Life Leaps us again, we will have to do another Quaking Punch. Because right now we're hitting 140 on Grenade Hammer, and that is not going to be enough. But I think we just got a little better option here for a couple turns down the line. Not going to go into it just yet. But for now, we can just continue to Quaking Punch, kind of lock down some items, maybe get into a point where we can start using Resistance Blizzard eventually. Since again, I don't see a way that he gets the knockout without Mega Evolving, even on Regice in a single attack. So Gardevoir is in a position now where we can take it out, and Super Rod's not really going to do much for us. Now here, this is where we have the option to knock out Gardevoir with Grenade Hammer. And it's not a cheap option, but it's one that I think I'm willing to take for 2 prize cards here. And if we can draw into Rough Seas, we can get ourselves out of this mess. We are going to, however, basically give him a ticket here to go and get the Mega Gardevoir up. But we do get the Rough Seas, we have Regice, and we have Energy Switch. We also managed to draw into Trainer's Mail, which may or may not be able to get us a supporter card. So we see the Spirit Link, we see the Mega Gardevoir come down. And he's still going to need a bit more energy here. Whether it's off Max Elixir, Manual Attachment, or whatever else, maybe even Mega Turbo, to try and load up the board before he can knock us out. With one more energy and a Megaphone, he could also take us down. So we see Spritzy come down onto the board. We see Super Rod, probably putting a bunch of energy back. I think he's got 2 or 3 of them in his discard pile. So we see 2 energy and a Shaman. We'll see if a Max Elixir follows that up. So he attaches from hand. And let's see what else. Ultra Ball. Okay, so he's going to go grab Shaman, discards a Mega Gardevoir, and another Fairy Garden. So that actually is all 4 Fairy Gardens now, if you count the one that's on the field, which we will be bumping out of play here very shortly. Grabs another Super Rod off Trainer's Mail, plays it. So we can see Gardevoir, Mega Gardevoir. Instead he goes 2 energy and Aromatisse. Okay. So getting the energy back in the deck, and then we see a Shaman set up for a full 6 cards. And we'll see how many Max Elixirs he can get off that. 2 elixirs, 2 successful elixirs I should say, would give him the knockout at 180 damage. So he needs 1 more. Or a Mega Turbo would actually do the trick if he still has an energy. But instead we see a Brilliant Arrow for 150, but comes up 10 damage short of the knockout. So we can go ahead now, lay down Rough Seas, eliminate Fairy Garden for the remainder of the game, and then use Rough Seas to heal some damage off. Let's see if we can't get ourselves a supporter here. We do gain access to an N. I don't think... Okay, we do have a Sycamore in the discard pile, which actually is probably a better option here. So let's see. He's got 4 in hand and 6 prizes, so we definitely want the Sycamore. So we can go ahead and energy switch one of these off of Manaphy and onto Regice. We can put Glaceon down, and we can go ahead and Super Rod the 1 energy back into the deck. And then use VS Seeker to grab Professor Sycamore and get ourselves some draw options here, and a new hand, more importantly. So we can go ahead and do that, and then we're going to have a Max Elixir, which we're going to unfortunately miss on, so no energy on Glaceon just yet. But we're going to retreat, bring Regice out, and we're going to open up item cards here, but we're going to get Resistance Blizzard as our defense, which means the only way he's going to be able to attack Regice successfully, at least, is by using, right now at least, is by using Spritzy or Aromatisse, at least until Xerneas hits the field. And so he fails a Trainer's Mail, plays an N, so we'll both shuffle hands back in, and that's going to drop us down to 3 cards. So he effectively played an Ace Trainer, and that's not a good hand to have. We do see Aromatisse come down, and we'll see if Max Potion follows. And it looks like it will. So we are going to be back to square one in terms of damage here, but as long as he can't touch us and we can continually heal damage with Rough Seas, that could end up being a big enough difference to propel us into a much better situation here. And as I said, he does not have Fairy Garden at his disposal, so unless he's got another switching card, if he wants to swap out his Pokemon, he is going to have to pay the retreat cost. So instead he just moves the energy, does not play a Max Potion. Now we could drag this Gardevoir up, but I don't really want to pass up on the prize cards right now, given the situation, although it looks like we're still going to be a little short of a knockout here this turn. I can be okay with that, I think, for right now. Go ahead and get the Glaceon ready and just use another Resistance Blizzard. Now, if he's going to Max Potion, I think this would be the time. Of course, we could have just retreated and done Grenade Hammer for a knockout, but then we would leave a heavily battered Seismitoad up front. So we do see another Gardevoir come down instead. And he's got a couple energies over here, too. He's got 1 on each of these guys, but if he wants to attack with Brilliant Arrow, he probably wants to keep those on the board. The benefit we're getting here is that there really isn't much of an attacking threat. So we can just kind of continue to go forward with that. We can get Glaceon ready. And we can move an energy off of Manaphy here so that we have Glaceon fully charged up. And I think I still want Regice to be the active, only because it's also immune to a Sky Return should it become a thing. But otherwise, I'm not too worried. I mean, we have Seismitoad fully charged on the bench. We have Lysander, and we only have one prize card remaining. So, barring another N here, this situation is pretty darn solid. And instead, he opts for a Pokemon Fan Club. And we've got 3 attackers charged up. So, I mean, do what you will. You can put the Xerneas down. You could move 3 there, retreat, and launch an attack. I mean, if you have a Muscle Band, you even knock us out. So we are going to see Fairy Transfer here. But Grenade Hammer is just going to write the end of this game anyway. And really just showing Seismitoad using more than just Quaking Punch. Grenade Hammer really showing how powerful it can be. And that's what's going to happen here because Manaphy is going to let us retreat for free. So we can just bring the Seismitoad up and use Grenade Hammer, and he's just going to forfeit the game. So we're going to get a W, and we'll go ahead and go and do another game just to continue with this deck and how it's done, how it works. Alrighty. And so we're going against a Psychic this time, and if this is a Trevenant, we will get to actually run out our Trevenant counters, hopefully, in this scenario. So we're going to be going second, and we'll see. I mean, meta-wise, I would definitely think that a deck like that would be Trevenant. We're going to go ahead, let's see. I'm going to just go ahead and assume that we're going to get item locked here, so I'm going to place... Then, I don't even know if I want to place the Glaceon. If he doesn't end us, then we'll just be able to do that. And yeah, we are going up against Trev, so pretty much what I expected here when I saw the Psychic and Colorless. I know we've been fooled a few times by Mega Mewtwo decks and just be like, oh, okay. And that might actually be a more worrisome matchup, but we definitely have Glaceon and Regice to rely on there. So it's not like we'd be out of options completely, but going up against a Mega Mewtwo, or I mean, sorry, a Trevenant, and we get the Suicune, so I'm going to go ahead and put that one down, and he's going to start as Shaman. So he's going to have a little bit more work cut out for him, I think, here. Now, the reason I did not put Glaceon down is because Trevenant Break places damage counters as opposed to dealing damage, while Glaceon only prevents damage as opposed to effects of attacks. So, Silent Fear would still hit Glaceon even after a Crystal Ray. Tree Slam would not, however. But since they almost exclusively use Silent Fear, I think I'd rather just have my options that are meant to deal with that. In this case, Rough Seas, and then obviously Suicune here. And we can also use the attack with Manaphy, which is kind of a cute way to deal with Trevenant. So we've definitely got outs to this deck. Maybe a few too many. But, you know, when they lock you out of items, sometimes that does become necessary. And so he's going to go ahead and end us out, but he's going to miss the first turn Trevenant because of it. So we're going to be able to play Elixirs for a turn, assuming we can draw some. And he goes ahead and VS Seekers the Sycamore, retreats into Phantump, and of course it has the Bursting Balloon, and he throws another balloon on the other Shaman. Plays another Shaman, so 3 Shamans now on the board. And we're going to be in a situation here that's a little awkward, but of course, okay, so not so much anymore. We hit Professor Sycamore. So we'll bench the Manaphy, and I think I'm going to go ahead and bench a Seismitoad here as well, and we're going to get the free retreat. And then throw the rest, because Regice and Glaceon I don't think are going to do much this match. So let's go ahead and play this one. And we can go ahead and grab our Rough Seas. Okay. And, oh geez. Yeah, we don't really have energy to use the energy switch on, so let's just go ahead, and I think we'll just grab another Manaphy. We can do that and go ahead and knock his Stadium down, and let's use Shaman to draw 4 cards and see if we can't hit some Elixirs here. Ugh, luck is not on our side. Okay, there we go. So we are going to get a Max Elixir. So we're going to go ahead and try to take advantage of that here. And we are going to get it. So we can put the energy here onto Suicune. And we're just going to go right ahead and switch into him. And what kind of supporters we got? Let's go ahead and use the VS Seeker while we can. Grab Lysander. And that's going to be it for the turn. So we're going to watch 2 bursting balloons just kind of float away or pop or whatever. And so those are gone, and we'll be able to kind of play in a little better situation here. And so we might be using some unorthodox Pokemon here as far as our attackers, like I said, compared to the previous rounds. Again, Manaphy becomes a fantastic attacker in this match, as we can alternate between the 2 copies of them. Suicune also just being able to completely shut down Silent Fear, which really makes Rough Seas more of a luxury than a necessity here. So we do see a Wally. He's going to bring the Trevenant out, and if he has the Dimension Valley, he'll be able to Tree Slam. And of course, those 3 Shamans on the bench are always rather appealing. If we draw like an energy switch or something, we can take one of them out. I guess you could probably try to debate if it's worth taking that out over a Trevenant, but since we have pretty good control of the board, okay, so he is going to go ahead and drop our Stadium. So we're gonna end up being completely denied. Of course, if we get an energy switch, we can Lysander, kind of take advantage from there. Suicune takes a hit. Instead, we just get another energy. Now, we can Hex Maniac, or I'm not sure here. I don't know how much I want exactly to do that, given the situation. I might just risk the odds of the Suicune getting dumped here instead, and go for a Lysander on one of the Shamans. So ideally I would like to attach all of these different energy cards from our hand, and I'm not sure how much I want to Hex Maniac, only because I don't want to give him the chance to Silent Fear. Although I guess one time really wouldn't be that big of an issue. But I'm assuming he's going to stick with Tree Slam here. And instead he does Silent Fear. Okay, so maybe not realizing exactly what's happening. And so that is going to prevent the damage to all of our Pokemon. So Silent Fear literally does nothing while Suicune is in the active. Now he can go ahead and knock us out now. So because of that, I'm thinking it's probably can just probably go here, and we'd be able to heal some damage. So we can do a Mineral Pump here for 60. And we can get some damage off our board. Probably could have hexed him there as well, which wouldn't have been too bad of a play. So we see Sycamore, Zero Sick, Dimension Valley, and a Psychic. And it's good to see a Valley go to the discard pile, because that'll put us in a better situation with our play. So now he opts for the Tree Slam. Interesting. So we draw Lysander, and we're just going to go ahead and attach another energy here to the Manaphy. And let's see. This does not heal himself, so I'm thinking this is, oh jeez, he's got a lot of cards in his hand. So let's go ahead and bring this out, and we can do that, and let's go ahead and use this as well. Go grab Glaceon, because we don't really need Glaceon, so let's just get a dead card out of the deck. And basically, he's got 8 cards now. He should have an energy to retreat it, so if we can at least force a little bit of inconvenience here, and then next turn go for the Sycamore. Since we had to use our attachment anyway, so I guess we might as well try to do something. We see Ultra Ball, but he's got 2 Trevenants and a Break Evolution in his discard pile now. So we may also see a Ascension here this turn. Sacred Ashes those 3 Trevenants I just mentioned back to the deck, which is pretty darn good to have. But he was wishing that was probably a Super Rod there. Get some of that energy back, because he does have 2 in the discard, 2 on his Trevenant, and Mystery Energies will not work here. So he does get a Super Rod out of the deck. We'll see the Psychic Energies probably go back to the deck now. And he needs some way to get that Shaman out of the active spot, whether it's a Floatstone or a Psychic Energy here. So we see a Trainer's Mail try and reach for maybe a Floatstone. And it gets a Judge instead. Maybe doesn't have ends, or maybe not enough of them. I'm not sure. I guess that's the only reason I can come up with as to why someone would play that card right now. You do see VS Seeker for Lysander, but he passes the turn and leaves item cards wide open. And that is a big deal. So we can go ahead and do that. And we're going to try to get another Rough Seas. And that is not going to happen. So we're going to want to place this here so he doesn't knock it out. And let's see. Got a couple of choices here. I think I'm probably just going to go ahead and try to grab another Professor Sycamore. And let's see. We want to maybe bring the other one up. And I'm not too worried about using Seismitoad right now, so we're going to go ahead and move that energy that way. And we can use Mineral Pump to lay some damage down and heal a bit off the bench. And the good thing about Mineral Pump is that it heals off of Shaman, which is something Rough Seas does not do. So we're just going to kind of slowly but surely pick away at his resources here. And we can really, as far as I'm concerned, take, as long as we don't deck out, we can take as much time as we want here to kind of just lay down these attacks. So it looks like, let's see here. So there's something else. I think I'm just going to hold the energy for now. This one only has 20, so we'll use it to heal the 30 damage off the other one. And then we can always just retreat to the other Manaphy next turn when he tries to attack us. So this is a pretty solid setup, as you guys can see. I mean, kind of an unorthodox one, like I said, you know, a little different than what you might expect, but we're going to basically be able to do whatever we want. And even this N, you know, dropping us to 4, we could draw a completely dead hand, and I don't think it would be too big of a deal. We have 1 water, which we can use essentially as a switch or a Floatstone. So he burst balloons and then plays a level ball. Now, we don't want to get our Manaphy burst ballooned, only because a Tree Slam would then follow us up for a knockout. So same goes with the Suicune there. We really don't want to let that happen. And we're not really going to get too many other options here. We can definitely just retreat if we want. I think that might end up being the better choice here, since everything is at least surviving with enough HP to last until next turn. We can bring the Suicune up and just kind of sit on it. We can also AZ the Shaman off of our bench for a couple more cards. And I'm actually going to hold on to that energy, just in case we see a Lysander. Alright. Well, if we were to hit Lysander, which I don't know that we have one left. No, we don't. I was going to say then we would be able to Elixir, but I'm not really terribly in a rush to pull for those cards, so I'm just going to go ahead and pass the turn, let the balloon float away, and not even bother dealing the damage. Because again, like I said, we can just kind of sit here for as long as we want. He's going to have to Lysander if he wants Silent Fear to do anything. Otherwise, he's basically locked into Tree Slam as far as his attacks go, which is not where you want to be as a Trevenant player. So we're going to see some damage come down, but we're just going to turn around here. We can play an N just to kind of try to keep an energy in our hand, which we do. So that's really the only concern. We haven't hit another Rough Seas, but again, that's not really a huge concern here. He could Lysander knock out our Suicune, but that's really, again, about the only way that anything happens. And even then, we still have 2 Manaphys that we're sitting on that we're able to heal ourselves with and deal out consistent damage. So he does go ahead and play the Lysander, so we are going to see our Suicune bite the dust here. And he drops a bursting balloon on top of it, which is not... that's really not good. So we're going to see the Tree Slam here. And this is a scenario we really don't want to be in, only because we can see Manaphy get knocked out immediately afterwards. So this is actually probably the toughest spot we've been placed in all match, or all game. Now, one of our Manaphys does have a Fighting Fury Belt on it, but it has enough damage to where the Fighting Fury Belt is not super relevant, because it's still sitting at only 110 HP. So I think the play here instead is going to be to try and just put his Trevenant to sleep for the turn, since that won't trigger the balloon. And so he does stay asleep, which is a big deal. And hopefully he doesn't have a switch or an escape rope or even an AZ to kind of deal with that. So instead we see a Wally. Another Trevenant break is going to come out, or not. So he's just going to pass, end his turn, and we're going to get to play our next turn and just use Mineral Pump again. Move some damage off there, and now we should be out of the woods when it comes to those bursting balloons unless we see an Eco Arm come down. So we can just continually use Mineral Pump now and take knockout after knockout. And 2 and 3 attacks, you know, respectively. 2 attacks for everything except the Break Evolution, which is obviously 3. But I don't see a way where he can really get a knockout here unless he Lysanders up one of our Seismitoads or our Shaman and we don't draw an energy. Which, 3 in discard and 5 on the board. We've only got 3 energy left, but we've only got 16 cards, and we could also hit a Professor Sycamore very easily. So we are going to see Tree Slam, which means we're just going to... Okay, we actually get the Rough Seas there. So we can heal damage this way, and then just retreat into the other Manaphy, which can heal more damage and knock out Trevenant. And so this is really kind of what Trevenant cannot deal with, is a whole bunch of healing cards that operate under the item lock that it produces when it's active, and that is exactly what we're throwing at him. So if you haven't noticed, he actually is decked out at this point, so he's going to have to grab an N, and even then I don't think there's enough. He doesn't have enough cards in his hand to save himself from decking out. So that's another thing, is that he just really had to go through his resources quickly to get all his cards out, and there's really not anything he was able to do. Because he's just going to redraw his entire deck here. We're going to go down to 3 cards, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, unless he has an Eco Arm or a Super Rod or something here, which he doesn't, we can just end our turn, and he's decked out. And you notice he's still got 5 prizes remaining. Had we attacked and used Rough Seas, we would have another full health Manaphy there. And even if he's Silent Fears, we get all the damage off everything. So really just a really powerful deck, especially against Trevenant. So obviously the Articunos make the Night March matchup playable, as do the Seismitoads. Glaceon can deal with Zoroark. Just so many counters to so many things, and really the one thing this is lacking at this point, I think, is a big home run hitter. But otherwise, it's pretty powerful. I'm Heretic, so I'll hopefully see you guys again very soon. Cheers.